It's me, Abdurrahman again, and today we're going to discuss how to multiply two or more fractions together. In the last video, we discussed how should we multiply fractions with a whole number. So today, I just thought of how to multiply fractions with fractions. And we've also discussed how to multiply fractions, two or more fractions with common or same denominators. So today we're going to discuss how to multiply with unlike or uncommon denominators. So let's begin. Now here, as you can see, is an expression saying that 3 over 4 times 1 over 2 equals 3 over 8. Now this might seem a bit interesting, right? So for addition and subtraction, we have to find the least common multiple of these two numbers, and then we have to use that as the denominator, and then we have to multiply the numerators together to give us the answer. To give us the answers numerator, right? So that's how we do for addition and subtraction. But in case of multiplication, we can use a shortcut. Instead of finding the LCM or anything else, we can just multiply the numerators and the denominators both, and so just have to multiply the numerators together and the denominators together. Now it's very simple to understand as well, as it might seem a bit interesting as well. So now here are two number lines. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the number line into two, 1 by 2. Now this is the same way we solved for multiplying whole numbers with fractions, right? We had to divide the number line into the number of fractions. We have to divide the number line into the fraction, and then you have to select, you have to use the number line to represent the fraction, right? So today we're going to do, when there are two fractions, we're going to do a little bit differently. Now always remember, when we are multiplying two fractions, the multiplication sign means of. When we are multiplying two proper fractions, the multiplication sign means of. Okay, so this means 3 by 4 of 1 by 2 is 3 by 8. Now that might be a bit more meaningful. So I'm going to divide this number line. I'm going to divide this number line into 3 by 4s, because 3 by 4 of 1 by 2, right? So I'm going to divide it into 1 by 2, because we have to find the 3 by 4 of 1 by 2. So here's 1 over 2, or 1 by 2. So here's half, right? And then I'm going to make 3 by 4 of 1 by 2. So that doesn't mean that I'm going to divide this into fourths. So there are 4 equal sections, and I'm going to choose 3 from these. Some people get confused, but it's not like this way, because it's 3 by 4 of 1 by 2, right? So instead, we'll have to divide this part right over here into 4 equal sections. Okay, that means you have to divide the full number line into 8 equal sections, and we don't just have to divide the full number line into 4 sections. We need this part to have 4 sections, right? And if you want equal sections, as for fractions we need equal sections, that's the reason we had to add 4 parts into this section as well. So once we're done that, we can just skip 3 parts of it, right? Of that 4 parts, right? We can just skip 3 parts. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So there are 3 which are skipped, and that leads us to this point right over here, and that is our answer. As you can see, it says 1 by 2 of 3 by 4. So this is 3 by 4, right? And this whole thing is 3 by 4, right? But what is this point right over here? What is this point right over here represent on the number line? For example, this point right over here on the number line represents 1 by 2, right? So what does this point on the number line represent? Well, it's pretty simple. As you can see, there are 8 equal sections in the number line. So the denominator of that would be 8, of course. And then the numerator would be the ones which are selected, right? So 3. as you can see, these 3 skips have been selected, right? So that's the numerator. So it's 3 over 8, and that's the same answer right over here, right? 3 over 8. So I hope this makes a bit sense to you. And as you know, you can do multiplication in any order. So this also means 1 by 2 of 3 by 4, right? Sorry, 1 by 2 of 3 by 4. This could also mean 1 by 2 of 3 by 4, right? You can just do opposite as well. So let's see how can we add that into number line. So first we have to add the 3 by 4ths here, because the 3 by 4ths. So I'm going to divide the number line at the bottom into 3 by 4ths. So for that, I have to divide it into fourths first. Then I have to select it into 3. Then I have to select 3 parts from it. Let me do that a bit more neatly. Now I'm going to select 3 parts from it. 1, 2, and 3. Right? So now once I've selected these 3 parts, this shows that this point on the number line shows 3 by 4 or 3 over 4, right? So this point on the number line is 3 over 4, right? Now I have to divide 3 over 4 into 1 by 2. So how do I do that? Now in the previously as well, to divide 1 by 2 into 3 by 4, we did not just divide the full number line into 3 by 4, right? We had just divided the half of the number line into 3 by 4. So here the same thing. We're just going to divide this part of the number line, of the number line into half. So this is pretty much like a half of a 3 by 4, right? And if I wanted equal sections, I'd have to add sections all around. So like that seems equal. Now if you were to ask the question, at what point on the number line is this purple dot right over here? Well, that would be the same answer, 3 over 8. That's because we skipped 3 times to get over here. Let me do that in another color. We had to skip 3 times to get to that dot, and there are also 8 equal sections. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 equal sections, right? So that's the reason the answer here as well is 3 by 8, right? So hopefully that is more meaningful to you than just multiply the numerators and the denominators. And I also hope that now this thing also makes a little bit of sense to you. So that's all how we multiply like this. Now what if there was another equation? For example, 5 by 6 times 2 by 3, which equals 10 by 18, right? If we solve it the normal way around, how we learned that we have to multiply the numerators and the denominators, right? So 5 times 2 equals 10, then 6 times 3 equals 18, right? Now this is a more interesting equation, because as you can see, just when you get the answer 10 by 18, your mind might have thought that both of these are divisible by 2, right? Like that means if you divide both of these, if you divide 10 by 2, it's gonna be equal to 5, and there will be no remainder. And if you divide 18 by 2, it's gonna be equal to 9, and there will be no remainder. Sorry, if you divide 18 by 2, it's gonna be equal to 9, and there would be no remainder. And your mind might have also thought that 10 over 18 and 5 over 9 are equivalent fractions, as we have learned in the previous videos, right? So that's true. And the more correct answer in this case is this one, 5 by 9. And the process, how we have to get the more easier and the much smaller answer is called simplification. So there are quite a few ways in which you can simplify the answer, and there are also quite a few cases in which you can simplify the answer. So this is the first way. You could divide it to get it in the lowest term. You could divide the answer. You could divide the numerator and the denominator to get the answer in its lowest term, right? To get the answer in its lowest term. And then you could also do the other way around. You could have done this even before getting your answer, which is 10, 18. You could have used the shortcut to find this answer right at this step. Now how do we do that? Well, it's pretty simple. As you can see here, 6 is divisible by 2, right? 2 times 3 equals 6 and 2 times 1 equals 2. It might be a bit confusing, so let me try it again. Now, as you can see, you have to divide these two diagonally. Remember, you cannot divide horizontally nor vertically. You just have to divide diagonally, right? And not all numbers are divisible, right? You have to find the numbers which are divisible. You cannot divide with remainders in here, and you have to write the quotient here. For example, I'm going to divide 6 and 2 like this. So 6 times 3 equals 2. 6 divided by 3 equals 2, or 2 times 3 equals 6. And then 2 times 1 equals 2. So this would be the same thing as 5 over 3 times 1 over 3. Now, if you were to solve this equation, it would be very easy. 3 times 3 equals 9, which is the same answer right over here. And then 5 times 1 equals 5, which is the same answer right over here, right? So it would lead you to 5 by 9, right? So that's how you simplify. And it's me, Abdurrahman. Now let's go to the summary. So here's the summary. When we're multiplying two or more fractions with unlike denominators, we don't have to find the least common multiple. Even if we find the least common multiple, it's correct. Like, we can't find the least common multiple, but it's much easier to solve by just multiplying the numerators and the denominators. And you can also simplify the answers in some cases. So that's all how you multiply two or more fractions. And it's me, Abdurrahman. Bye.